What's up, and welcome to the Nothing But Net Worth podcast, where we have conversations with prominent coaches, athletic directors, and NIL athletes discussing critical topics around financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and much, much more. My name is Hassan Thomas, former student athlete and current promoter of all things financial wellness. And today, we have former varsity cheerleader from the Ohio State University, and current NIL coordinator at Ohio State, Miss Brooke Shields. How are you, superstar?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, I'm happy to be here with you. I'm happy that we met not too long ago at the Black Student Athlete Summit. So I'm happy to have you here. We're going to rock out, right?
I'm ready.
So how we normally get started is we start off with the segment called the Financial Coin Toss. So I'm going to ask you a few either or questions just to see where your head's at, all right?
Okay, sounds good.
All right, the first one is, would you rather invest into the stock market or invest into some real estate?
I'm going to say real estate. I feel like growing up, I've seen my parents, kind of move from house to house.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw when my family finally owned our own house, and I was like, you know what, that's something I want to do. So I think personally, I would like to invest in real estate just because I've seen, kind of the struggles getting to there, and that's something I want to do.
Definitely. So just from your parents and watching them makes you really want to dive into that real estate and get into that. Because what I read in a book that 90% of millionaires own real estate. So we're going to have to add to that 90, right?
We're going to add to it.
Come on. So let's keep it moving. So we're here talking about NIL. We're here talking about name, image, and likeness, how these student athletes can now profit and start making money from being themselves. So
Right.
In your opinion, which is more important? How much money student athletes can make from NIL or how much money they can keep from NIL?
I think it's important for what you can keep, because you can make a whole lot of money, but you can't really, whether it's taxes, whether you got to pay off your student loans, whether it's you got to give money back to family. I think what you can keep says a lot. Like whatever you can keep tells you, okay, well now I'm gonna change the world with what I got.
Gotcha.
So I feel like, whatever you got, it's going to tell you what kind of person you are, what kind of, your character, all that. So I think it's important how much money you can keep.
I agree 100%, because if you make $1 million and you spend 999,000, what's the point of you making that million and you don't have it anymore? You have $1,000 left and you just had $1 million. Like, what was the point? You literally have nothing to show for it. And like you said, after these, or like we talked about before we got on, when these students graduate, and we know that 98% of them will not play at the professional level.
Right.
What do you have to show from them 4 years? Yes, your Instagram looks popping. Yes, you got the followers. But what is your dollars looking like? You know what I'm saying? After those 4 or 5 years that you played. And the fact that these student athletes now have that opportunity that, before 2021, that wasn't a choice for collegiate athletes to be set up for success after school. So I think it's just very important. And I'm excited, like I told you, I'm excited to get into your journey, because I feel like every athlete, every entrepreneur, they kind of have that turning point, that defining moment where they're like, okay, I can go to the next level, or I'm going to have to find another career path. So let's go back to your defining moment in Montgomery County, Maryland, where you were a cheerleader in high school. What was that defining moment where you realized, okay, I can go cheer and get my schooling paid for at the next level? What was that moment for you?
Right. Honestly, I went to a competition. It was the World Championships. It was my first time, so I was like 14, I believe.
Okay, so this is freshman, or is this 8th grade? Is it freshman or 8th grade?
Yeah, this was before high school. I think I was in 8th grade.
Okay.
And I was seeing some of the top elite teams. And I actually was sitting next to someone's parent, and they were cheering their daughter on. And I
Yeah.
was like, how old is she? And they were like, oh, well, she's actually in college. And so I was talking to
Mm.
them, kind of seeing, okay, well, what does collegiate cheer look like? And then my junior year summer, I went to Ohio State's cheer clinic or camp,
Uh-huh.
and the coaches showed interest in me. They liked my tumbling skills, my stunting skills. And that's when I realized, okay,
And you weren't even in high school yet.
right. Well, at this point, I was in high school, but
Okay.
yeah, I was pretty young in high school, and
Mm-hmm.
they were like, just work on this, this, and this. And I was like, you know what? If they sought me out of the hundreds of girls that are here, I know that I have something special. And I went back
Facts.
home and I was like, I'm getting to work. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna make this happen. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So you put yourself in the position, you got that exposure.
Mhm.
So after you got that initial interest from Ohio State, when
Mhm.
did it become apparent that okay, I'm going to Ohio State? Did you have other offers? Did you have other schools that you were, contemplating? Like how did the Ohio State, like how did it come into fruition?
Yeah, it came into fruition. Honestly, I was like, you know what? After that day when they reached out to me, they gave me their contact
Mm-hmm.
emails, and I just held on to it. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna get there. So I just kept emailing. What are y'all looking for now? What should I do now? What should I do now? And the
Yeah.
moment clicked when one of the coaches was like, I'm gonna come to you and you're gonna, it's usually like a recruiting process, not a tryout, but she was like, I'm gonna come to you and you're gonna show me, what you're working on. And at that
Yeah.
moment, I was like, if she's coming 6 hours to see me, this is
I
real.
gotta
This
turn
is
up. Yeah,
legit.
I gotta I gotta turn up for. So what was that? That was junior year. That was senior
That
year.
was my
When?
senior year. That was senior
Okay.
year of, I think, December. And at
Mm-hmm.
first I was like, well, maybe I'll go to school, closer to home, get that in-state tuition.
Yeah.
But once she said, I'm gonna come and see you, I was like, yeah, no, I'm gonna do this. This is where I'm gonna go. This is what I liked the school when I went to visit. So yeah, I
Yeah.
was ready.
Okay. So then you got to Ohio State. You cheered there. So kind of give us like a highlight of your cheering career, and then
Hmm.
give us a low light, kind of like an adverse moment, something that you had to push through or persevere through while you at O State.
Yeah. So honestly, a highlight I would say. So a lot of people don't know, but the cheer team, there's about 35 of us, 15 to 16 girls, 15 to
Mm-hmm.
16 guys, and only about half the team competes for a national championship each year. So I would say my highlight was when I made the nationals team, which was my junior and senior year of college.
Wow.
My freshman year, I didn't make it, and sophomore year, COVID happened, so we didn't even get the chance to compete.
Yeah.
So I feel like all my hard work for those 2 years, really paid off, and everyone could see it
Yeah.
once I made the team. And I feel like a low, honestly, this is gonna sound crazy, but honestly, my freshman year was just rough, like
Mm-hmm.
altogether, because coming from Maryland, especially Montgomery County, it's one of the most diverse counties in the country.
Yeah.
And so coming to Ohio State, my team was not as diverse as I was used to growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of like a culture shock to me.
Yeah.
I never cheered with people from rural areas, so they're singing country music and talking about a farm and all this stuff. And I was mind blown. I was like, wow, this is real life. It was
And
crazy.
it's
And like,
Ohio State for you.
yeah, for real, for real. And like academically, my first semester, I'll admit I wasn't doing that well, and it was the first time I ever struggled really in school.
Mm-hmm.
So it was that, and athletically, I wasn't performing the best. So
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like a lot was piling up. And
Yeah.
then February of my freshman year, COVID happens. So to finish it off with all the struggles, COVID hits.
National pandemic.
Right, right. Don't come back
Jeez.
to campus. So, yeah, honestly, but it made me a better person. I feel like going through all that adversity, I
Mm-hmm.
found what it is I love, what it is that I need to focus on, how to manage myself and my time. So,
Yeah.
it made me better in the end, but man,
Mm-hmm.
in the moment, it was the struggle.
For sure. For sure. So what advice could you give? Because I think what you went through,
Hmm.
so many athletes have to go through that culture shock when you leave out of state. See, I went
Right.
from Houston, Texas to Knoxville. So they don't say Knoxville. They say Knoxville. All one syllable, Knoxville.
Right.
So I went there, and for me, it was still southern. So it wasn't. It was just big city to small city. So it really wasn't terrible. But like,
Hmm.
what advice could you give? Like, how did you persevere through that big change? Like, did you find friends that you could, still relate to on the team? Like, what advice could you give for people who are gonna go from, one place to an entire different place out of state? Like, what advice could you give for that?
Right. Yeah, I've did find some friends that I
Mm-hmm.
could connect with on my team, but I
Gotcha.
think the main thing that really helped me was I found things outside of athletics. So I went and joined
Mm.
clubs that the university, holds.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was important for me because I still met a diverse group of people, but I also felt more
Mm-hmm.
comfortable in myself and in my skin and like who I was
Gotcha.
around. So that was important. And I know
Mm-hmm.
like the clubs I joined, I was like the only athlete, and a lot of them think, "Oh, athletes don't come out to things like this." But for me, it was important. I was like, I need to. I'm around my team
For
all the
sure.
time, and I need a break from them. So let
Mm-hmm.
me, meet some other people, get new backgrounds, new perspectives.
Yeah.
So that's what I did, and honestly, it helped a lot.
That's really good advice. I didn't think of that. And when I was an athlete, well, I did join. I was in FCA. I was a Bonner Scholar, so I had to volunteer about 10 hours a week at the Boys and Girls Club. So I did branch out a little bit. But yeah, I
Hmm.
didn't even think about that though. But that's really really good advice for the young folks, the athletes listening. Yes, you're an athlete. Yes, you're a student, but you're more than that.
Right.
Go mingle, go talk to other people. And I think, like you said, it is kind of weird to just go up and talk to people. That's kind of tough. But
Yeah.
if there's a reason for y'all to talk like a club, like you
Hmm.
mentioned, then kind of the ice is already broken. Y'all are already doing something similar because y'all in the same club, even though y'all are coming from two different experiences.
Right.
Now y'all have that similar atmosphere to really talk about. So I think that's really good advice, Brooke. So you went through your 4 years. You really, really shined your last 2 years, got to the national championship. So after your cheering career, was how did you personally handle that transition from athlete to, non-athlete?
Yeah. At first, honestly, it was really hard, but I was like, I need a break. Like my body was hurting. I knew I needed a break. I knew I needed to
Yeah.
relax. So that's exactly what I did. But when I was an athlete, personally, I know exactly I did. I took 2 months off and I got right back into keeping myself busy. Because when I was an athlete, I
Yeah.
worked two jobs and I was a student and I was an athlete. So I was always busy. I was
Yeah.
go, go, go.
Mm-hmm.
So I just decided to do things that I couldn't do as an athlete. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna
Uh-huh.
try kickboxing. I'm gonna try
Did you?
cross. Yeah, I was doing everything. I was trying
Yeah.
painting. I was reading. Like my major, political science, it was
Uh-huh.
very reading heavy. So I just ended up not really enjoying reading. But
Mm.
now I was like not reading because I had to. I was reading because I would want to. So it was a different kind
Gotcha.
of, you know. So I was like, okay, let me start reading a little bit. Let me,
Mm-hmm.
pick up some different genres to read. I was discovering new music. I was taking art classes. So
Yeah.
honestly, I feel like athletes are very busy, very
Mm-hmm.
structured human beings, and I feel like finding a new structure for me and finding new hobbies to keep me busy honestly helped a lot.
I ain't gonna lie, you dropping some gems.
It's important. It's important, man.
Like
So,
everything that you're saying, and I'm
mhm.
looking back like, dang, I did that too, and I didn't even realize it. Kind of like we mentioned at the beginning, you are the NIL coordinator at the Ohio State University. So, kind of talk about like what does your role consist of? What are you looking to accomplish in this role? Give us some game on that.
Okay, yeah. So right now, as the program coordinator, so NIL at Ohio State is housed under our student athlete development unit. And
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of it we focus on how to help student athletes build their character for when they're done with their sport. So
Yeah.
with NIL, what we're trying to do is help them build their personal brand.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot of education. I mean, I feel like we can never do too much education, whether it's what is NIL, just
Yeah.
foundation, what it is, how to get started, or how to do your taxes.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of students don't realize they got to do taxes when they get NIL
Yeah.
until they
Especially
come
with
to
these
these
new rules
sessions.
now, where they're able to get paid as employees.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I feel like rules are always changing. This world is always evolving and flipping, changing rules. Policies are different, so it's really
Yeah.
important to keep the athletes and even our partners and business partners, up to date with what's going on. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it is a lot of just education. So we kind of, trying to help them navigate NIL in different ways. I like to work with local businesses as well as corporate businesses to kind of, help them find student athletes that fit their mission, as well
Gotcha.
as they need education too. They just need, they just
You
hear
talking about the
NIL
businesses?
and yeah, they don't, they need help.
Wow, I never
Badly.
thought about that
Yeah.
aspect.
Yeah, because they hear, I'm gonna pay an athlete, and they don't know what that entails, or what they
Mm.
can and can't do, who they
Yeah.
should or shouldn't reach out to. So it's important to, let them in on the loop and what change is going on,
Hmm.
and educate them as well. So that's, that's a little bit of what we do. I feel
For
like it was a
sure.
lot, but I feel like my
But she said that's just a
everyday.
little bit of what we
Right,
do.
right, exactly.
So like I want to talk about those businesses that you mentioned. Have you
Hmm.
found that it's been more businesses that are pouring into these student athletes, or is it more of
Mm.
the big brands, the big companies that are coming to do like brand partnerships with the athletes?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like it depends. I know the high profile athletes, they get the higher corporate companies. But I feel like a lot of these local businesses do reach out to our Olympic sports, our female student athletes. Our female student athletes, they have the most NIL deals, although
Really?
they're not the highest dollar value, they have
Mm-hmm.
a lot. And we have nail salons locally, hair salons, like, all these different local or more local businesses are like, you know what? Let me reach out to these female student athletes. And even our Olympics male student athletes, I feel like a lot of our restaurants that are local, they know they like to eat, so you might as well collaborate with them, have them be an
Mm-hmm.
ambassador. So I would say for
For
the majority
sure.
of the people, smaller companies, but of course, bigger, higher profile athletes get bigger companies to
Mm-hmm.
reach out to them.
Wow. So just from like your day to day that you've been in, like what has been like some of the biggest challenges that you've had to go through with these new NIL, this new role, the new rules that are constantly changing? What would you say have been some of the most challenging obstacles you faced so far?
Yeah, kind of like what I already touched on. I think the students think I have to be a content creator to be involved in NIL, and that's not the case. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
telling them you do not have to be an athlete with 10K, 20K, 30K followers. You can be who you are with 1,000, a
Mm-hmm.
couple hundred. You don't have to be a content
Yeah.
creator, because especially at Ohio State, our NIL education, a lot of it is on personal branding,
Mm-hmm.
contract negotiation. You're going to need to negotiate your salary at some point when you're
For
older.
sure.
So learning these skills now can help you later. You know,
Gotcha.
like personal branding, that's like how people see you. So how do you want to be perceived out in the world, and how can you go about that? So I think a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the challenges we face is just showing them that there's life skills they can gain, whether
Yeah.
they want to be an influencer or not, that they can take away. And I
Mm-hmm.
also think another issue I've realized a lot of people face is they don't really know what NIL means. Like, yeah, it's name, yeah, it's image, yeah, it's likeness. And
Uh-huh.
name and image are pretty self-explanatory. It's your name and it's a picture of you. But likeness, a lot of people think is how much, like your popularity, how many
Yeah.
followers you have. But in reality, I actually learned from Luke Fedlam. He is one of our educational partners at Advanced NIL. And he
Mm-hmm.
explains it very good. He's like, it's a graphic representation of you. So if you think of Michael Jordan, Michael Jordan, if he had NIL, his name, Michael Jordan, his image would be a picture of him. You can easily see his
Yeah.
face, him in a jersey, whatever. But his likeness is actually the Jumpman logo. You don't see his actual face, but you know that's Michael Jordan. So I think a lot of student athletes hear likeness
Oh.
and they're like, oh, well, I'm a fencer. Nobody cares about fencing. I don't have that much likeness. But that's not
Hmm.
necessarily the case. And so I think, trying to get that to people and realize you have it all. If you want to engage in NIL, you can.
Yeah.
You don't have to be this huge million follower
Hmm.
social media person.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think even the entrepreneur, like when I came out of college, everything that the NIL athlete is doing, I had to do as far
Mm-hmm.
as personal branding, the networking, trying to get brand deals with bigger brands, trying to get podcast sponsorships,
Right.
all of those different things all set me up to be where I'm at now, but I had to go through and learn those things. And I didn't have, like you said, the 10,000, the 20,000 followers, but even just being a micro influencer
Mm-hmm.
for the student athletes who don't have that major following, if you, I don't know, if you're a cat person, you could have 2,000 followers, but you have a cool collar for your cat in a company that does cat collars. They want
Right.
to pay you NIL. You know what
Right.
I mean? And you get the NIL bag off just being your authentic self. So don't, feel discouraged if you don't have that huge major following, if you're not super outgoing like Caleb Williams or, any
Mm-hmm.
of these other athletes. Be yourself, put yourself out there, be your authentic self, but also, shoot your shot. You know what I mean? If it's a
Right.
brand that you like, if it's a, company or a person that you want to be connected with, shoot your shot because honestly, it ain't never been a better time to be a student athlete.
That's for real. Right.
It ain't never been a
I,
better
I
time. And go ahead.
right. I read this actually statistic, and it was saying that 61% of marketers say that student athletes drive better awareness for businesses than traditional influencers. So I feel like a lot
Wow,
of businesses, even if you don't have following, they see that you're an athlete and they're like, "Oh, okay. I want you to help me get my name out there. I want you to
for
help me
sure.
get my business out there." So I feel like athletes gotta,
Hmm.
like you said, shoot your shot. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, if you can do, I always say this in business: if you can create a win-win situation, how can you lose?
Hmm. Right.
If you could create a win-win situation for everybody involved, how can y'all lose? Like, you know what I mean? So I think that's perfect. And what we've created over here at iGrad, the company I was telling you about, we've wanted to make sure that we have a holistic athlete development program. And that's where it really starts. And that's what I want to ask you. Like, do you think the financial education, the financial literacy piece is something required in that type of program? Or like what's your thoughts on that? Do you think these athletes should be receiving like specific NI financial education? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I do for sure. I know at Ohio State we do, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's so important that athletes get a message that's catered towards just athletes. I feel like
Mm,
if it's the more relatable it is, the more customizable it is, the
yeah.
more that they understand, they want to, better themselves, understand,
Mm-hmm.
they can retain the information better. I feel like it just it just makes sense. And like I said earlier, we had like our inclusion identity series, and
Yeah.
we just made it, this session is more relatable for the black student athletes. This one is more
Mm-hmm.
relatable for our LGBTQ plus student athletes. And I feel like that's just so important. It
Mm-hmm.
helps later down the line, with financial security, you can just
Yeah.
understand it a little bit more. And I think, yeah, honestly, if you gotta, tailor it towards just athletes, do what you gotta do, because they're gonna
Uh-huh.
get money. But if they don't know how to use it, they use it the wrong way, then they'll be in. The IRS will be come knocking at the door in
Facts.
years to come, and you don't want that. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw somebody say, you talking about statistics. I saw somebody say, like, with this NIL, we could be setting up, like, without personal finance education, we could be setting up these 18, 19, 20-year olds with 30,000 in debt from IRS and back paid, not paid taxes
Right.
if we don't give them this education. Like, yes, we're giving them this money, but how can you give somebody the money without education on how to use it, on how to grow it, and how to maintain it? So
Right.
that's kind of why I was saying with our athlete development program, we start with the financial education and then we bring the branding piece. We've actually partnered with a company called Gen Agency, and
Okay.
they do branding. So they come in and do like really cool workshops and give the students like templated emails to send to the brands. I
They're
thought
handing it to you.
literally,
You gotta do
literally.
it.
Yeah, so I thought that was really cool. And then she said, and I was like, you got to think about it though. You know, these student athletes, they don't like to just be sitting and looking at no PowerPoint. And she was, and then and the CEO of Gen Agency, she was like, oh yeah, she's like, I didn't like to sit and look at no PowerPoint. So, so what she does
Right.
is super cool. She has influencers like on their Instagram page. They have like viral videos of influencers. So when they do these workshops, they break the students up in groups and they have
Mhm.
them recreate the viral video but put their own spin to it.
I
So
like that.
I'm like, wow, like they can literally make a viral video in the workshop, get the video and then post it and then potentially go viral for something they did in the workshop. And she was
Right.
like, yeah. I was like, yeah, we're definitely
Dang.
partnering.
That's
I was
cool.
like,
That's what's up. I like
yeah,
that idea.
I was like, we're definitely partnering. So that was a really cool piece. I think that's so important. And like, I just have a couple more questions for you. I really just want to know what's next for Brooke Shields. What's next for you?
Yeah. Honestly, I really want to see where college athletics goes. I
Mm-hmm.
enjoy NIL and I enjoy student athlete development. I don't know what it will look like in 5, 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
but I do think I want to explore professional sports. I don't know. I don't know what's out there in professional sports, and I don't know if I don't seek, ask, see what's out there.
For sure.
But I know that my life goal is to go to law school. I want to be a
Okay.
lawyer, and whether I come back and help a university athletic department or I go and be a professional athletic in-house,
Mm-hmm.
we'll see. Where the wind takes me is where we'll see. But yeah, I think I'm gonna have to explore, college and pro, and then
Uh-huh.
we'll see.
No, I love that. I love that. Like I said, you can do anything you put your mind to. Obviously, you've made it this far. So I just want to give you your flowers for one, your authenticity, two, your kindness that came off like when we met. You know, you could have been, who is this guy? You know what I mean? Like it
Right.
could have easily been that. So, like I said, I just want to give you your flowers for everything that you're doing, Brooke. And if you have any final words, any final takeaways for the young athletes listening, go ahead. And if you want them to follow you on social media, go ahead. You can throw that out there as well.
I'll just say I feel like being you and being authentic and doing what you love will go farther than anything else. If you're happy, if you're loving what you do, and you feel like you're making a difference, then that's all that matters. So
Mhm.
you can chase a bag all you want, but if the bag don't make you happy, it's gonna be a miserable a miserable time. I feel like
Come
money can
on.
only and people say money don't buy you happiness. It can only buy you so far, I feel like. So
Hmm.
do what you love, be happy in it, and surround yourself with people who truly love you, are truly there for you, truly care about you.
That's amazing. That's amazing. For all our listeners, definitely take some of these gems that Brooke dropped here today, apply them to your life, and I promise you there will be large results over. So again, Brooke, thank you so much. And all of our listeners, y'all already know if y'all are looking to be educated, motivated, and inspired to not only stay in the game, but to change it, the Nothing But Net Worth podcast is for you. See you next week. There we go.